beyond the pages of our history books. Etched into the highest mountains and swallowed by the deepest jungles lie the remnants of entire worlds. South America continent fight extremes. For centuries, we believed its greatest stories began and ended with the Inca, but we were wrong. This land is one of the few places on Earth where civilization arose entirely on its own, giving birth to a staggering diversity of cultures long before any empire. Our journey begins in the arid valleys of Peru, at the sacred city of Caral. Over 5,000 years ago, while pyramids were rising in Egypt, a complex society here was building its own monumental architecture with no evidence of warfare. They were a people of music, ceremony, and celestial knowledge. Further north, high in the misty Andes, lived the Chachapoya, the warriors of the clouds. They built their fortresses on the precipice of the world, their round houses gazing into eternity, leaving behind tombs on inaccessible cliffs. On the shores of Lake Titicaca, the city of Tiwanaku stood as a great ceremonial center. Its stonework so precise it defies explanation, and hidden beneath the Amazon canopy, recent discoveries have revealed vast geometric earthworks, the footprint of a sophisticated society we never knew existed. They left behind no written language, only enigmatic clues, knotted strings called kippahs that hold untold data, and mummies preserved with a skill that predates the pharaohs. These are the lost civilizations of South America. Their cities have fallen, but their legacy endures, challenging everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. And towering above them all, one empire would rise to absorb their knowledge and build a legacy of its own. A story for our next chapter. From the foundations of forgotten civilizations, one power rose to conquer the Andes. They were the Inca. For them, this was not just a city in the clouds, but a royal estate, a testament to their power. Their story begins not here, but in the sacred valley of Cusco, the navel of their world. From a small kingdom, they were forged into an empire by one man, Pachacati, the Earthshaker. He transformed the Inca state into the Tawantinsuyu, the empire of the four parts. In less than a century, they built the largest empire in the pre-Columbian Americas. Its lifeline was the Capacone, a road system more extensive than Rome's, stretching over 25,000 miles. On these roads, Chosky runners could carry a message 150 miles in a single day, connecting a vast and diverse realm. It was an empire without currency, without markets, all managed through a system of labor tax and meticulous state control. Everything was recorded not with writing, but with the quipu, an intricate code of knotted strings that tracked every person, every llama, every bushel of corn. They were masters of their environment, taming the formidable Andes. With bronze tools and sheer manpower, they cut stones so precisely that a knife blade cannot fit between them. They built terraces that turned inhospitable mountainsides into fertile farms, sustaining millions. They created a world of order, engineering, and divine rule. But this golden empire held a fatal flaw. As it reached its zenith, a crisis in succession would tear it apart from within. Just as an unimaginable threat appeared from beyond the horizon, the end was coming. The end of the Inca Empire did not come from famine or rebellion. It came from the sea. They were fewer than 200 men, clad in steel, wielding weapons of fire and thunder, led by Francisco Pizarro. They sought a kingdom of gold, and they arrived at a moment of perfect weakness. The empire was healing from a bitter civil war between two brothers. The victor, Atahualpa, was celebrating in the northern city of Cajamarca, having won a kingdom but about to lose an empire. Pizarro, with audacity born of desperation, laid a trap. He invited the living god to a feast in his honor. Atahualpa arrived in regal splendor, carried on a golden throne, surrounded by his court. Utterly confident in his divinity and numbers, he walked into an ambush. In a storm of cannon fire and flashing steel, the world of the Inca was shattered. The divine king, the Sapa Inca, was captured, his followers massacred. To save his life, Atahualpa made the largest ransom demand in human history, a room, 22 feet long and 17 feet wide, filled once with gold and twice with silver. For months, a river of priceless treasure flowed into Cajamarca. But it was never about the gold. Once the ransom was collected, Pizarro betrayed his promise and executed the king. The death of the sun god decapitated the empire. Its structure dissolved into chaos. Cusco, the golden capital, fell without a fight. The Spanish had conquered a civilization of millions with a handful of soldiers. But as they plundered the capital, they were unaware that the war was not yet over. From the ashes of their world, the Inca would rise to fight again. To conquer a city is not to conquer its people. While the Spanish plundered Cusco, they had made a puppet of the young prince, Manco Inca. But the fire of the empire still burned within him. He escaped, and in 1536, unleashed the greatest rebellion the Americas had ever seen. 250,000 warriors rose to his call, besieging Cusco, nearly wiping the conquistadors from the map. Though the rebellion was eventually broken, the war was far from over. Manco Inca retreated into the impenetrable jungle, founding the legendary kingdom of Vilcabamba. For nearly 40 years, this city was the heart of the resistance, a final bastion of freedom. But in 1572, the Spanish found them. They captured the last Inca king, Tupac Amaru, and in a final, brutal act, executed him, extinguishing the royal line forever. The cities fell silent, lost to the mountains and the jungle, but the spirit of these civilizations never died. It lived on, woven into the textiles, and whispered in the Quechua language of the Andean people. Centuries later, the world would be stunned when explorers began to uncover what the jungle had hidden. The lost city of Machu Picchu was revealed to the world, a ghost of a forgotten age. From the first pyramids of Caral to the last stand at Vilcabamba, this land tells a story of incredible ingenuity, tragic loss, and unbreakable resilience. Before the gold, before the empire, before the name Inca was ever spoken, this land held a secret. In the barren coastal deserts of modern-day Peru, civilizations were born when most of the world was still in its infancy. 5,000 years ago, at the same time the first pyramids rose in Egypt, a city flourished here. This is the sacred city of Caral. Its people built vast pyramids and circular plazas, played music on flutes carved from bone, and cultivated cotton, yet they had no pottery and no weapons of war. It was a civilization of art and ceremony, one of the first in the Americas, and then it vanished. 2 millennia later, a new culture emerged, the Nazca. They left no great cities, but instead etched a message onto the very land itself. Colossal figures, visible only from the sky, a spider, a monkey, a hummingbird hundreds of feet long. Were they an astronomical calendar, sacred pathways for rituals, or signals to celestial gods they could never see? The artist simply scraped away the dark desert stones to reveal the lighter earth beneath. A simple act, creating an enduring mystery. These lines have survived for 2,000 years, a silent testament to a people's vision. But the deserts were not the only cradle of civilization. High in the mountains and along the fertile coast, other powers were rising. Kingdoms of gold and stone, whose legacy would pave the way for the empire to come. While the Nazca marked the desert, other civilizations reached for true power. From the shores of the world's highest navigable lake, Titicaca, rose the Tiwanaku. They built a city of monuments, carving their creator god into a single, massive gateway of stone. Their influence spread across the mountains, laying a cultural foundation for centuries to come. Meanwhile, on the coast, the Mocha thrived. They were master craftsmen who created portraits in clay so realistic. We can gaze upon the faces of people who lived 2,000 years ago. Their murals depicted a complex and often brutal world. While their lords were buried with a treasure of gold so spectacular, it rivaled that of Egypt's pharaohs. And deep in the cloud forests lived a people so fierce. The Inca themselves would call them the warriors of the clouds, the Chachapoya. They built the colossal fortress of Kulap, a testament to their strength, a mountaintop citadel that dwarfed any fortress in the New World. Tiwanaku, Moshi, Chachapoya powerful, Siskit itself. But none of them would last. In the heart of the Andes, a new story was beginning in a sacred valley where a small tribe was destined to unite them all. From the scattered kingdoms of the past, one story rose to unite them all. The Inca say their journey began with a myth. The sun god, Inti, looked down upon the chaotic world and sent his son and daughter, Manco Capac and Mama Aclo, from the sacred waters of Lake Titicaca. They carried a golden staff, and where it sank into the earth, they were to build a capital. After a long journey, they found their valley. The staff sank, and Cusco, the navel of the world, was born. For generations, the Inca were a small kingdom among many. Then came their greatest test. The ferocious Chanca Confederacy amassed an army to wipe Cusco from the earth. The ruling king fled, but his son, Prince Pachacati, remained. In a desperate, final battle, he defeated the invaders so completely that legend says the very stones of the battlefield rose up to fight for him. This victory transformed him, Pachacati. He who shakes the earth was no longer just a king, but an emperor in the making. He rebuilt Cusco from a town of mud into a city of masterful stonework, the worthy capital of a great state. He designed the society, the government, and the religion. He laid the blueprint for the largest empire the Americas had ever known. The realm of the far parts. But an empire is not built on vision alone. It is built with roads, with messengers, with data, and with control. Pachacati built an empire, but how do you control one that spans the most difficult terrain on Earth? The Inca solution was a masterpiece of engineering, the Capacone, the Great Inca Road. A 25,000-mile network of paved roads, tunnels, and bridges that stitched the Andes together. This was the circulatory system of the empire. And running through its veins were the Chasqui, the imperial messengers. In a continuous relay, these elite runners could carry a message 150 miles in a single day. News, orders, and secrets could travel from one end of the empire to the other with astonishing speed. But what message did they carry? The Inca had no written language. They had something else, the Quipu, a complex system of knotted strings, a physical database that recorded everything from taxes and census data to military deployments. It was a code that gave the emperor a complete, real-time overview of his entire realm. With this data, the Inca ran an economy without currents, markets, or merchants. All wealth was controlled by the state, which demanded a tax of labor, the mita. In return, the empire provided security and sustenance for all. It was a perfectly ordered world. But the system had a fatal flaw. Its stability depended entirely on one man, the Sapa Inca. And when he died without a clear successor, the perfect machine began to tear itself apart. The great machine of the Inca Empire had a single point of failure, the Sapa Inca. And when the Emperor Huayna Capac died suddenly from a strange pestilence sweeping the land, the machine broke. His two sons, the Ayahuasca in Cusco and the General Atahualpa in the north, both claimed the throne. The result was a war more devastating than any the empire had ever fought. Brother against brother, an entire nation consumed by fire and blood. For 5 years, the empire bled. It was during this chaos, at the empire's moment of greatest weakness, that they arrived. Francisco Pizarro and a handful of Spanish adventurers. They had come seeking a kingdom of gold they had only heard of in rumors. What they found was a land divided by war, ripe for the taking. Finally, the Civil War reached its bloody conclusion. Atahualpa's generals captured Huasca, and Atahualpa became the sole ruler of the vast empire he had just conquered. As he rested in the city of Cajamarca, surrounded by an army of 80,000 loyal warriors, he learned that a small band of foreigners were making their way toward him. He was the most powerful man in the Americas. What threat could a few hundred strangers possibly pose? Atahualpa, the victorious emperor, agreed to meet the strangers in the plaza of Cajamarca. He arrived on a golden litter, a living god surrounded by his court, facing a square that was unervingly empty. There, he was met not by a soldier, but by a priest, who handed him a book and demanded he swear allegiance to a foreign god and a foreign king. To Atahualpa, whose words were law, the book was meaningless. He dropped it to the ground. It was the signal for a massacre. From the buildings, cannons fired. Armored men on monstrous beasts' horses charged into the panicked crowd. In minutes, thousands of Atahualpa's attendants were cut down. In the chaos, Pizarro seized the Sapa Inca himself. The God King was a captive. Desperate to win his freedom, Atahualpa made the largest ransom demand in human history. He would fill a room 20 long and 17 feet wide, then twice, all with silver. For months, a river of treasure flowed from across the empire. The Spanish became fantastically rich, but they did not free him. Terrified of the power, the captive king still held over his people. They betrayed their promise, subjected him to a farcical trial, and executed him. The god of the Inca was dead, but the empire was not. With Atahualpa dead, the Spanish marched on Cusco. To give their rule a veil of legitimacy, they crowned a new Sapa Inca, a teenage prince named Manco Inca. But he was a puppet, and his masters were greedy. They plundered the capital, melting down priceless artifacts, and subjected the young emperor to constant humiliation. They never imagined he would fight back. But Manco was a true Inca. He engineered a daring escape and vanished into the mountains. From there, he orchestrated the largest uprising the Americas had ever seen. In 1536, the Spanish awoke to find Cusco surrounded by an army of over 100,000 warriors. The Great Rebellion had begun. For 10 months, the Inca fought to reclaim their capital. They captured the fortress of Sacsayhuaman and rained fire down upon the trapped conquistadors. The Spanish were on the brink of annihilation. But steel, cannons, and cavalry held the line. The siege could not be maintained forever. With his forces dwindling, Manco Inca made a strategic decision. He would not surrender. He would retreat and establish a new kingdom, a final bastion of resistance, hidden deep in the jungle. The rebellion in Cusco was not the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter of resistance. Manco Inca led his people into the impenetrable jungle and founded a new kingdom, Vilcabamba. For 4 decades, this Neo-Inca state defied the Spanish Empire, a symbol of a spirit that would not be broken. But the Spanish would not tolerate this lingering challenge to their authority. They sent a final expedition to hunt down the last Sapa Inca, Tupac Amaru. They conquered his jungle city and dragged him in chains to Cusco, the capital of his ancestors, to be executed in the main square. His death was meant to be the final, brutal end of the Inca. But you cannot execute a legacy. The empire of the 4 quarters was gone. The line of god kings was extinguished. But the Inca people were not. Today, millions of their descendants, the Quechua, still live in the Andes. speaking the language of their ancestors and weaving their traditions into the fabric of the present. And high on a mountain ridge, a secret kept for centuries, sits Machu Picchu, a city the conquerors never found. A silent, stunning testament to an empire that, in the end, could not be completely erased from the world. Thanks for joining us. Like and subscribe for more history, and tell us in the comments what civilization we should explore next.